Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles Lung. With me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jake Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. I'm getting happy with that intro. It's about how many seconds long? It's about 8 seconds long, 9 seconds long. Intro,
I
and I'm
have no
okay
idea,
with that.
but yeah.
I was looking at the recording, and it said it was 9 seconds long. And
Okay.
I think
You're timing yourself. Nice.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it's good.
You know what? I'm happy that you think it's good. I'm happy that you are proud of it.
Oh.
You're taking that as an
Thanks, Jake.
insult, which tells you more about yourself than it does about what I said.
Yeah, it tells more about my self-esteem than it does about how you feel about the intro. Which I feel like if you really didn't like it, you would have gotten me to change it by episode, 50.
Yeah,
or
I'd probably just
episode
record myself over it, doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And
But I
you
don't do that,
just use
so
the
it's good.
same recording every time and
Every
just copy
time?
and paste.
Oh my god, I would. I totally would. I'm so lazy. So lazy.
It's great. It would be perfect.
What do you got for us, Charles? You said you got it's something about like a fantasy show that's related to a group of miscreants that are down on their luck and traveling to dangerous, evil places looking for forgotten valuables.
Yeah, so imagine you're in a world and nobody has cell phones. Everybody has horses. And then you show up with a cell phone and you're like, shit, I have a cell phone, but I don't have data. But I have a calculator on my phone that works until I run out of battery, so we're all good. And you use your cell phone to climb the social ladder of this universe and become their god. But then, 50 years pass and your phone dies. And so you're just stuck there with everyone thinks you're magic, but you don't have your cell phone anymore, so you don't have any power. So, and you have to travel to the great Mount Samsung to get a charger for your...
Damn, this is a great advertisement. We should get advertised by Samsung. That'd be great. That's a great idea for an ad. I can picture it like the guy getting sent back in time. He has to travel to the top of a mountain, and he has to put his phone up there, and lightning strikes, and the phone goes to full battery, and it's an advertisement for their wireless chargers.
Yeah, exactly, or a quick charger or something like that. Oh, that'd be perfect. It'd be one of those
that's
ads.
Not what my show is. I hate to break it to you, but that is not what my show is.
That makes me sad.
It was that thing that I was saying. It was your show, but it's actually my turn to pitch.
It's your show. This fantasy show.
So we do have a team of ever-changing miscreants and down-on-their-luck Jims journeying into dangerous and evil places looking for forgotten valuables. The show is called Malicious Salvage. Now, I'm not married to that title, so if you have a better idea at any point,
I thought you were going to say, I'm not married. And I'm like, I know, Jake. If you had gotten married, I wouldn't expect to be your best man, right? But I would expect to be invited.
Wow. Well, maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. Who knows?
Oh, what? I'm not getting invited to your wedding. Well, guess what? You're not invited to my next wedding. That's right. You weren't invited to the first one either. So
yeah, I missed that one. That's why I'm not invited to mine. That's not happening. I would have to be dating someone to get married, Charlie. Well, I guess that's not true, actually.
Yeah, you can get married to anybody.
I get
go to Las Vegas.
Shotgun weddinged. I don't know.
Yeah, you and I go to Las Vegas. We'll get married. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. That's happening next week, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's on the calendar. Anyway. We have a show. We do have an actual show. This isn't all just us wasting time so that I don't have to tell you my very meager idea here. There are characters. I'm going to go through the characters first. There's a lot of characters, but a lot of them are going to die, so you won't really have to remember their names.
Yeah. You did say ever-changing, and I was wondering if that was a lead-in to it's a team of shapeshifters, or if it was just going to be a lot of characters who died and new people showed up.
Yeah. I like when people die, so, well, not in real life, but in shows.
No, in real life.
When you just wipe out, the whole cast in the first episode, that's always fun.
I've seen Jake at funerals. He's got a big old smile on his face.
Yeah, laughing.
Not even funerals for people he knows.
I just go to them and I just start laughing. They're like, "Who is that guy?" I don't know.
Yeah, idiot, dead prick.
Some guy. So the first character's name's Rank. He's an orc This is a fantasy show, by the way, sort of medieval area.
Yeah.
He smells bad.
Tolkien-esque.
Who would have thought? I wouldn't say Tolkien-esque. This is kind of a joke show.
Okay, that's fine. But still orcs and elves and
yeah,
shit,
yeah.
right?
I mean, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not like high fantasy, though.
Not somber. You haven't invented like 6 new languages.
No, I have not. Just 4. Anyway, so Rank is he's an orc. He smells bad.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Doesn't listen well to directions. Short attention span. Goes off on his own a lot. Has trouble articulating what he means. So kind of like us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Rank. He is just one character. There's others. There's Biff. He's a dwarf. He's technically an idiot. So it's sort of like, with sort of technical stuff. Anything that, requires a brain. But he has common sense. So, like, he might not be good at very simple things like fighting or, manual labor. But he's good at, he when he realizes that they're in a shitty situation, he'll be the guy that says, we're in a shitty situation, we should get out of this, Yeah. So he when they're in a dark forest, they're like, well, we should not be in this dark forest. It's dangerous, Or like, they're going into a cave full of skeletons. It's like, this is not good. Rank, what's your idea?
Yeah, my idea for Rank is that he's really bad at dressing for the weather. And that's why he stinks, is because I'm assuming that most of the show is going to take place in sort of like forests and greenery and nature, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then like taverns and such. And I think it would be funny if he's constantly wearing a really heavy winter clothes,
Yeah.
And then whenever the only episode that we go up into the mountains and they have to fight a snow dragon, he just wears like no shirt, like just really short, like short shorts and like flip flops, and that's his look. And that's why he stinks, because he's.
Yeah, I like that, but it'd be good for that. Like the joke is that, let's say there's 2 different, temperature measurements, sort of like Celsius and Fahrenheit, and he's from a place that uses one of them, and everyone else is from another one. And so whenever somebody says the temperature, he's like, okay, I'll dress for this, and he dresses improperly.
I like that a lot too, because I do that all the time in my regular life, and I smell bad. I'm beginning to feel a connection with this character.
You are Rank. Anyway, Biff, we're still talking about. Always wants to stay in a group. He's not the mystery. What was it? The Mystery Inc. sort of. Let's all split up and search for clues. He's like, no, we should all stick together. I want to be with the leader. I will always, he's good at following orders. He will always follow the leader. But he's constantly worried when they don't take the safest action. And he's not like an idiot in the sense that he doesn't even know he's an idiot. Like, he knows he's dumb, but he'll get angry if he gets pressed. Like, if someone's, he's pushing a cart and he's doing it in the dumbest way possible. Like pushing the side of it instead of, getting behind it and pushing it with the wheels.
Of course.
And somebody, is yelling at him for being an idiot. If you came over and you told him, like, hey, like, you got to push from the back, he'd be like, oh, okay. But if you came over and like, oh, you fucking idiot, why aren't you doing this? He would get mad at you. And, maybe put up a fight. And, but then it ultimately will result in him, like, just sort of, like, shutting down. He's not the kind of person that will yell back at you. He'll just, like, shut down and sit in a corner and just not talk to anyone.
Sulk and be moody and that sort of thing. Until we need to use his common sense for the sake of the party. Yeah. All right.
Then we have Hato. Hato is an elf. Sort of the self-appointed leader of the group. At least later in the show, not in the beginning. But Hato, she thinks of herself as the leader. Probably the most competent, but always offers to be the guy in the chair. We'll explain what that means in a fantasy sense.
I was going to ask.
But, like, instead of being the person that's, leading from the front, Hato wants to, sit back and manage, like, they're all, like, chess pieces, Doesn't want to, lead from the front, because we'll get it, it's constantly, she's constantly bickering about, however much she do better. So she gets annoyed when she's out there leading in the front because people aren't doing exactly what she wants them to do. And when she's in the chair, she doesn't have to see, like, their incompetence.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really have a high tolerance for incompetence. So there's a little bit of a conflict with Hato and Biff, who's the elite.
Okay.
So she's constantly, bickering, and when she, when she's staying back, she's always, doing that for seemingly no reason. She always comes up with some sort of reason that she should be the one that stays back, and is quite obscene with her language as well. This is a character that curses a lot.
I like her. She's my favorite.
And I have to mention that
far.
she's obscene with her language because Nob, the next character, Nob is human. Nob is very polite and does not curse.
That's funny. That his name is Nob, and he doesn't.
You might get like a dang it, like a darn.
Yeah.
But you'll never get like a damn or a fuck. Nob.
Nob doesn't fuck. This is what we know.
So Nob, human, fairly competent, but doesn't really know much all about like what they're doing exactly. Doesn't really know much about magic or the job, which is salvaging stuff. But is a somewhat educated person. Is not an idiot. Good friend.
Read a book.
Develops a good friendship with Biff because Biff likes to follow Nob. Doesn't really like Hato because Hato is kind of an asshole. But Nob is very polite and will, Nob's the one that if Biff is pushing the cart wrong, Nob will just kindly be like, oh, you push it from the back. And Biff will be like, oh, okay.
Okay, yes.
Despite, this seemingly conflicting nature, Nob and Hato get along pretty well because they're both fairly competent and Hato can respect Nob. Though often Nob will get yelled at by Hato because Hato yells at everyone. So Nob will just get yelled at and just sort of take it, because they don't see a point in yelling back.
Exactly, especially if Hato's in charge. Sometimes leaders just need to yell.
Yeah, well, also Hato is the self-appointed leader, so they don't really even have a reason to yell. They're just doing it because they're an asshole.
Yeah, that's it.
Next, we have Greg. Greg is also a human. Greg is a know-it-all and chews with his mouth open. Not a lot of traits going on with Greg, just those two. Because next we have Frock. Frock is Biff's cousin. So Biff, the idiot, the one that can't push a cart right, Frock is his cousin, and he's always complaining about everything. Every little thing you could possibly complain about, he's complaining about. The weather, the ground's muddy, my hat's too small, this rock is too hard that we're trying to break into, this cave is too dark, this castle is too big, the echo is too strong, you're talking too loud, this food isn't spicy enough, this food is too spicy. Every little thing that could possibly be complained about, Frock is complaining about.
Of course, because Frock likes to complain. Man, there's a lot of characters that I identify with in this show thus far.
This is one you're really going to identify with, Charlie. LaRoe. You're not going to identify with this person. LaRoe. LaRoe is an elf. LaRoe is the most gifted of the group, is extremely gifted, knows everything there is to know about everything, extremely talented athlete and warrior, very kind and looks after everyone. LaRoe is like the perfect person. Just, top of the list. You can't beat LaRoe. Better than everyone. Well, LaRoe, I'm not LaRoe either.
Yeah, I know, but it's like you're 100% not going to identify with LaRoe. LaRoe's very talented, and I'm like, oh.
That's LaRoe. Next, we have Mr. Pinnock. Mr. Pinnock is also an orc.
Also an orc.
Mr. Pinnock.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Mr. Pinnock is older. In fact, quite old, about 144. And does this as a part-time job. We'll get into what that really means in a minute. And complains about his elf wife who takes too many baths all the time.
Of course.
Because he's an orc, so he likes people to be a little filthy, and his wife is an elf, and so she's a little cleaner of a person. So he's complaining about how his wife doesn't smell bad. Thought that was funny.
That is funny. I like it.
And next we have Meredith. Meredith is a human, but she's a crazed evil sorceress, or at least apprentice sorceress, or unofficial apprentice sorceress. She doesn't have someone to be an apprentice of. She's just trying to get into evil sorcery. And she's just along because she wants to strengthen her powers. Then we've got Jurgen. Jurgen is an elf. All I wrote was that he's a big dumb idiot. So while I said that Biff is dumb, Biff is like somewhat a capable person. This is just a dumb person you knew in school or whatever. Jurgen is like an actual, just like, there's no brain in Jurgen. There's just nothing. Jurgen has got the mental capacity of a 2-year-old. But he's really big. He's really tall. He's really big. Can wipe out people in a fight.
Got a big sword, probably, or an axe, maybe a hammer. Whatever the dumbest weapon is, probably a hammer.
Club, maybe. Just a big club. Big hammer. It's good too, yeah. I like that. Then we have Rickard. We only have 2 more characters, so we're almost done here. Rickard is a drill sergeant type, yells a lot, oldest in the crew, and closest to paying back his debt. We'll explain what his debt is in a minute. And they're all debts. They're all in debts, which we will explain. So Rickard is kind of the leader of this whole group, at least in the beginning. And the debt all comes from VeryReasonablePilots, or also known as the boss, VeryReasonablePilots. He's an evil wizard who lives in a dark tower. They drop everything off to him that they salvage, and he pays them very meagerly. But not like he'll provide them with like a stipend, so they can get equipment. But that stipend will come out of the pay that they got from bringing the stuff back, because that ultimately is meant for paying back their debt. Yeah. So, they're all in debt to him because they all sold their souls to him in a past life, and now they're paying the price.
Oh no, you can't be selling your soul to a wizard in a past life. That's a bad time. That's bad news bears right there. Don't be doing it.
So they have to repay him with enough magical power before dying. They have to find these objects and magical stuff for him to be to get out of their contract. So there's 2 ways out of the contract. There's dying, and there's paying back the debt. Now, dying, that kind of sucks because you're dead. Paying back the debt is going to take forever. So it's a really shitty deal. Of course. Basically, they're just indebted to this guy. They're just indentured servants for their entire lives because they're not... I mean, we'll get to it in a bit, but it's very hard to get out.
Of course. As most wizard acts are. Mm-hmm. You don't meet many like good wizards who give you like, oh, it's actually really easy to get out. They're like the wizards are basically the like phone plan people of the medieval world. The hardest thing in the world to just cancel to anyone.
Mm-hmm. It's they give you the email and you click unsubscribe, but it brings you to this other page and then you have to log in, but apparently you never had an account, and when you log into the account it signs you up for another newsletter.
Oh, of course.
It's just a whole thing. Mm-hmm.
And you have to put your credit card details in, even though they're definitely not going to charge you for anything, and then you look back 6 months later at your credit card statement and you've been receiving like $17 charges for the past 6 months every week. Like
that's apparently for like a subscription for like their newsletter and like a little news service they have that you didn't even know that they had and you never used once in your life. You call them to try to get it canceled, and no one answers first, and when you get someone, they're confused and they don't know what you're talking about. Turns out they work for somebody else now, and you don't have the right phone number. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. And then turns out you were just being scammed by the Chinese government, and they have your details now. You've been enlisted into the Chinese military.
Yep.
This isn't part of the story. I'm telling you, Jake. I enlisted you into the Chinese military. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, joke's on you. I was already in the Chinese military.
Oh, look at you.
This whole podcast is a propaganda tool.
Ooh. It's a shitty propaganda tool. I'm just saying.
It is. It's not very good. Some are good, some are not. You gotta swing and miss sometimes.
Fair enough.
Anyway, we have a actual pilot. I just gave you the characters, but like the actual show is I've written that down too. So
good. I'm excited.
The wagon. There's always a wagon. It stops on the edge of the Black Forest because Black Forests are cool forests that are dark. And thick, full of trees. So Rickard,
you never get a different color forest. You never get like they stop at the edge of the maroon forest, the teal forest. It's always a black forest.
Yeah, it's always black. Red forest? No, I can't.
Red forest.
I feel like there would be a red forest.
Dark brown forest. That's just most forests, I guess.
The dark forest. Wait, that's
the dark forest.
That's also That's also just black. That's the Black Forest.
That's just exactly so.
Yeah, the White Forest. That's what we'll call it. Well, you know what? And they get to the edge of the White Forest. It's called the White Forest, but it's really black. And they'll be like, "Why is it called the White Forest?" They're like, "The guy that named it couldn't spell."
Colorblind. Yeah.
I was gonna say colorblind, but I don't think there's any white versus black colorblind. we'll just say he was colorblind, and that's the thing in this universe where.
I was gonna say orcs don't exist either, but we make do.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. So Rickard yells for them to start building camp. Hato follows him around like a little servant, just like every time Rickard yells, like, "Oh, do this," Hato's like, "Oh, do that," like she's just copying everything Rickard says, just like a little teacher's pet kind of thing.
Nerd.
But she's trying to act like she's the second in command, and Rickard does not even notice her, and she's obviously not the second in command. No official relationship there. So Biff and Knob, they start building a tent. This is when they sort of first meet, and they're becoming friends while they're building the tent. So Biff is stronger than Knob, so Biff can hold the bigger stuff, but Knob actually knows what they're supposed to be doing, and Biff's an idiot. So
maybe we see Biff hammering in a tent spike into the ground, but he's using the wooden part of a hammer and holding it by the metal part, that sort of thing. He's like, hey, buddy.
Maybe Biff is plopping the hammer into the ground with the
with the spike. There you go.
Yeah, the spike. That's good.
That's good. I like that.
So Rank is also building his tent, but he only gets halfway done, and then he gets distracted by a bunny and wanders into the forest. Leroux is helping, comes over and helps Biff and Knobs. This is our first introduction to Leroux, the cool, elf that's good at everything and very nice. So Leroux is getting to know Biff and Knob, and is helping them set up their tent. And then also helps Mr. Pinnock, the old man. And Meredith's the dark wizard apprentice person. Is whining about, how they're not going out yet and wants to go into the forest and, grab the stuff. Jurgen is there as well, and Jurgen is hungry. That's all he can say is hungry.
Hungry.
Greg is talking about how...
As well.
He sees the rabbit, and he tries to eat it.
Yeah, he's like, hungry, and then Rank hits him in the head with a brick.
Yeah.
But he's an enormous man, so it doesn't really bother him. It's just
it's just...
hungry.
Yeah. Greg talks about how they technically set their tent up backwards. Because Greg's a dick, know-it-all. He's like, oh, technically you're supposed to face the east with your tent, not the west. And they're like, shut the fuck up. Get out of here, Greg. Or at least, Biff would say that. Knob would never say that. Knob would just, sort of ignore that. And Leroux would also probably ignore it. Frock is mad that his tent is light orange as opposed to a darker orange. That's really upsetting because he wanted a light orange tent, and his tent is dark orange, so that's not good. Once camp is set and ready to go, Rickard breaks them into groups. So we've got Knob, the polite human guy, Jurgen, the idiot, Hato, and Rank. Hato being the elf that everyone is always wants to be, thinks he's the leader or thinks she's the leader, and Rank, who's gone already, is already out in the dark forest, and but Rickard doesn't realize this right now. And the other group is Biff, Frock, Meredith, and Mr. Pinnock, and Leroux. Leroux and Rank are appointed team leaders and given a conch shell to talk with Rickard, who will be monitoring them with a magical map. So it's kind of like the Harry Potter map where you can see people moving around.
Okay, and he's got a magic conch.
Magic conches that they can talk into, like SpongeBob.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, Rank is in a half-destroyed tower full of bones. He stumbles up a staircase and pushes through a hidden door which leads to the roof. Back to everyone else. Knob, Hato, and
I'm assuming he's following the rabbit.
He's
the rabbit goes up the stairs, and the rabbit opens the door or goes through a door that's not open, and I'm assuming this is some sort of a magical rabbit that is luring him.
It wasn't originally. Planned.
But
it was just a rabbit that just distracts him. I kind of imagine when he was going through the woods, we could have him chase the rabbit if that might be better. Because I imagine him just sort of he goes in the wood following the rabbit, and then he gets distracted by something else, and then he gets distracted by something else, and then something else, and he somehow ends up on this tower.
Yeah. If it's a magical rabbit that's luring him to some sort of event or plot, moving forward, a character or something. I think that could be fun. he's just following a rabbit. Maybe like a bunch of beams fall down as he's falling, like climbing up the stairs. But because it's like, I'm assuming he's like hunched over, arms straight out, just following the rabbit like a 4-year-old follows something, and just like trying to get it. And so, you know, because his head's hunched down, he just narrowly avoids getting hit in the head with an enormous beam or something like that, or like an axe blade falling and nearly cuts his head off. But then he's just like, nope, I'm a rabbit. Rabbit.
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah.
Back to everyone else. Nob and Hato realized that Jurgen isn't Rank, so they didn't actually know Jurgen's name, and they thought Jurgen was Rank and Jurgen was the leader. And they realized that they went into the forest without taking the conch shell, so they have no way of contacting Rickard, who's supposed to be leading them through the forest. And they also are missing one of their group members who they have never met, so they have no idea who the fuck Rank is and where he is.
Yeah, of course not.
So they have no practical ways. They're already deep in the forest too, so they have no practical way of knowing where they're supposed to go. They didn't sort of track their way, so they can't even just walk back. So it's quite difficult. And before Rickard, before they left, they were told, like, you know, you need to make sure you have this on at all times because the forest moves around. So I'm gonna have to lead you back. Even if you're good at sense of direction, you're never gonna find your way back without me leading you.
Yeah.
So they panic at first. So like, fuck, we need to figure out a way back. But then they realize that it's just as bad to return empty-handed as it is to not to return. So they might as well just find something first and worry about getting back after. Because there's if they go back without any stuff, they're gonna get in big trouble. So might as well just
you gotta just push forward and hope you can figure it out.
So meanwhile, Biff is trying to keep up with Leroux, who's sort of walking ahead of everyone because he's better than everyone and everything. So he's faster at walking, and they're trying to keep up. And Biff is walking with Mr. Pinnock, who won't stop talking about his wife and how she takes too many baths. And Meredith is barely sticking with the group. She's sort of in the edges, trying to like find some magic first that she can use it. See, it's getting kind of clear that Meredith doesn't really give a shit about paying back her debt, and she just wants magic. She wants the magic for herself.
She must be an evil wizardess. Maybe they
Frock
don't have the term witches yet.
Yeah,
she's just calls herself a wizardess. A wizardess.
A wizardess.
I will be the greatest wizardess. You mean a witch? No, a wizardess. There's a difference.
Wizards.
The difference.
There is a huge difference. Jeez, God.
It's very complex. You wouldn't understand, but there is a big difference. And frankly, the fact that you would call me a witch, pretty insulting. Give me $5.
So we got Frock complaining about the walking as they're going along, and Leroux reaches an old battlefield up ahead and calls them over, and they see hundreds of skeletons surrounded by corpses of tree monsters. And they're a little worried at first, but then they start going in, they start looting, they find all these magic trinkets and stuff. And they start packing their sacks with it. So they, like, this is like a gold mine. All these monsters dead here that they can loot.
Yeah.
Try to get some magic from.
I found an orc's, or I found a troll's heart, or I found, this is like a gateway into an alternate dimension. This is fantastic. All sorts of cool stuff that they probably won't use because the wizard takes it, and our budget's not that high.
No, it's not.
We spent a lot of money
and Hato.
installing. We spent a lot of money installing smell-o-vision into all of our viewers' homes so that they would be able to smell that Rank stinks.
Smell Rank. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very important.
It's very important.
That Rank smells bad.
Yeah, and aren't just told or figure it out from the reactions of the characters. You have to know exactly what he smells like.
I want it to hurt every time he's on screen.
Eyes watering. Yeah, that's what we want.
So, while they're doing this, we've got Nob and Hato. They reach a cave. So it's Nob, Hato, I think it's... Jurgen, that's right. Jurgen and Rank, but Rank's not there. So Nob, Hato, and Jurgen. And they reach a cave, and they wander inside, and they see a ton of skeletons. Two of which both have their hands on an orb in the center of the room. And after very carefully making sure there isn't a trap, they really think this is an Indiana Jones situation where they're going to pick it out and there's going to be a boulder that drops or something like that. And so they're going all around making sure there's no traps or anything possible that could shoot them or kill them. And they did disable a couple that would if they picked it up. So, they're being careful. And they grab the orb and they start walking to the exit. Now we cut to Rank, who reaches the top of the tower and finds a lever. He pulls it, and it spins out a magnifying glass, and it reflects the light off into the distance. He's like, huh, that's interesting. And back at the cave, a single beam of light reflects into the cave. It hits the orb that Hato and Nob are holding. And nothing seems to happen at first. And they don't even notice that the lights hit it. But then a large screech echoes through the tunnel. And we cut to the outside, and they're all running out into the woods, screaming, for their lives, sprinting through the woods, so we can hear the, whatever it is, sort of beast-like thing, that they can't see yet.
Roaring. Trees are probably
around.
Like being bent over and falling down behind them, but they're just running and they can't see it. We'll do a wide shot of the forest, and we'll see them like running through an open field and just the trees like behind them.
So they all are screaming and running in the woods, and they hide behind a tree, kind of like the first that scene in Lord of the Rings, where if you've seen the first Lord of the Rings movie, they're all behind the tree, and the Nazgul's on the other side of it, the Black Grim Reaper looking thing, and he sort of peeks over it, but somehow misses them, and the same sort of thing happens. Except so they hide behind a tree. We've got that, shot from they're at the bottom of the shot's kind of looking up at them, and behind them at the tree, and we hear snarling. So of the beast, and we hear it scrapping against the log, and it seems to go away for a second, then out of nowhere, it just snags Jurgen and claws him to pieces, and Hato and Nob are just sprinting and screaming and crying and running out of the woods, like just complete, absolute panic.
Yeah.
And
I think it would be really funny.
Sorry.
I was gonna say they're like Jurgen and Nob. Jurgen is the little dwarf, yeah.
No. Jurgen is the dumb idiot. Nob and Hato. Hato is the elf that's sort of self-appointed leader, guy in the chair sort of person, and Nob is the very polite human.
I was just saying if the dwarf was there, they could be like running out of the forest, weeping, but then like the dwarf, his legs aren't long enough, so he's not running fast enough, so Nob just picks him up and carries him like a baby, and they're both crying and holding each other as Nob's like carrying him, and they're running out of the forest. I think that'd be a really good image of him holding him just like a baby, and they're just weeping together. You're He's a sweet boy.
You're huge.
Yeah.
It's really hard to carry him, but yeah. But I like that too. Like they're just sort of maybe dragging him mostly. Like they're partially holding him, but half his body is being dragged, and halfway through they'll just drop him, because they're running away for their lives
and crying.
Yeah. And so they're running through the woods as they're screaming and crying. Hard cut to Rank, who's just peacefully jogging back and whistling. He's hanging out. He picked up one little medallion thing from the tower, and he's like, I'm good. I've got it.
I just thought it would be so funny if we cut to him just jogging, just walking, he's whistling, like through the forest, very happy, and he's like, got myself a brand new hat, and he puts on the rabbit hat. He puts on the rabbit as a hat, and he's like, oh, this is very warm. I like this. This is good.
Well, he's not the voice you're doing. He's not like an idiot. He's just
I was doing more an English voice. Yeah, I was doing an English voice.
And so I thought that was English.
If you think that English people are all stupid, that's your personal thing.
I thought that was like a Forrest Gump sort of thing.
Hello. Yo, I got myself a brand new hat. Let me put this on. Oh, this is so nice. I like this.
Damn.
So, I like that. Yeah. Like a kind
so
Billy Butcher.
While he's jogging back, we've got Leroux, Biff, Frock, and Mr. Pinnock and Meredith. They've just packed their sacks full of stuff. They're all excited. They're like, this is a ton of stuff, a gold mine. We might be able to pay back a huge chunk of our debt today.
Yeah. Maybe if I keep one of these things, I'll be able to pay my wife not to wash for at least a month. Ooh. I want to bottle that musk. I want him to be a real pervert about it. I think that'd be funny.
He's weird about it.
Yeah, I want to bottle her musk. Let's see.
Meredith has packed her sack full, and she's just wandering off in a different direction. They're like, "Where are you going?" And she just ignores them. And she's like, they're like, "Okay," so she's just not gonna go back. She's just gonna live in the woods and do whatever the hell magic sort of stuff.
Evil wizard things.
And Biff is like, "Shouldn't we, get her?" And Rose like, "Well, I wouldn't worry about it if I was you. Vyro would probably hunt her down." So. It's sort of a sense that if you did try to run away, that you will die, because you got to pay back your debts. So everything's going well for them until, as they're walking back, all of a sudden, Hato and Nob just sprint past through the middle of them, knocking into Biff, knocking him over, and making him drop his sack. And they're like, "Run, fucking run, run, run!" And in this, Frock dies first, mid-complaining about how much he's holding, and he's like, "I'd rather die than take another step." Just fucking gets torn apart into pieces. LaRoche wraps his sack, grabs Mr. Pinnock, and carries him. And so him, Biff, Hato, and Nob, they all make it back to Rickard with absolutely nothing but the orb. In the end, so they have, all they have left is the fucking orb that they grabbed from that first cave. And the beast, by the way, the beast won't leave the forest. He gets to the edge of forest and won't actually go outside of the forest. Sort of like
I'm assuming we're not seeing it. We're just kind of hearing it, maybe seeing it in silhouette, but you just see stamping feet at the edge of the forest, and then it just turns back. In shadow, we see it just walk back into the forest, dejected, chewing on whatever, the complainer, the guy that it killed, just chewing on him.
Frock.
Frock.
So they get back and they hand the orb to Rickard, and they think, well, there's the only benefit we can see from this is that the fact that there's less of us means that at least we won't have to pay for they won't get a cut of the orb too. The cut will just be split between us. And Rickard's like, "Oh, that's not how it works. We still gotta pay their debt, or your pay gets deducted for the lives lost." And they end up owing even more to the guy. So the whole first episode ends with them owing even more to the guy.
Achieved literally nothing.
To Vyro. Yep.
I was gonna say maybe they because you said it's a revolving cast of characters, and I think it would be interesting if you had characters show up who were because you said that they sold their soul to this guy in the past life, and so maybe this is just one of the lives, and when we have somebody else who's got kind of a similar personality to someone who died, but they're in a completely different shape, like the Rock, right? The complainer, that's his name.
Yeah.
Maybe he shows up, but now he's this enormous orc who's constantly complaining about doing things even though they require zero effort from him. I think that could be fun if that's how we introduce new characters. And it's actually, there is a deduction for lives lost, but the new incarnation of Mr. Frock should be along with our adventuring party shortly.
Well, when you die, you're out of your debt, though.
Oh, okay.
So you're free of your debt when you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Could be free of your debt.
Okay. So I've got some episode ideas here.
Yeah.
So one episode is we open with the retirement party for Mr. Pinnock. He's finally paid off his debt to the wizard.
Yay.
People are kind of excited because they're like, he's not that old, and they ask him his age, and he's an orc, and he's lived to 143. And they're like, what's the life? How many years do you have left? Because they're like, oh, okay, so orcs live a long time, so that's good for you, I guess. How long do you have left? And he's like, well, the average life expectancy for an orc is 143. And they're like, oh, fuck.
No.
That sucks. And they're like, but they're not as worried because he went part-time at 100. so he could like go back home and stuff. And the wizard let him do that because he'd been working for him already for 100 years. So if they make it to 100, then they can go part time. Is sort of the deal.
Yeah.
But you still have to pay back your debt.
Of course. Maybe he's like.
In this episode,
I'm retiring, and I was able to convince my wife not to wash. Oh, I'm very excited. It's my retirement party.
Oh, yeah, she's like, she didn't wash tonight. And they're like, okay, Jesus, what the hell's wrong with this dude?
Ugh, gross. She hasn't shaved in months. Oh, come on, Mr. Finnick. It's just keep it to yourself, dude.
Yeah.
Keep it to yourself.
Afterwards, so after the party, they go out into their salvage job. Besides Mr. Pinnock, who's gone, they go into an ancient library full of ghosts. And the gimmick here is that one of the ghosts makes you forget the last person you saw. Another makes you forget the last 10 minutes of your life. Another adds another 10 minutes of false memories, and one restores your memories.
Oh, okay. There's 4 ghosts
so
and only one of them.
Whole lot of confusion.
Yeah. That seems like it would be insanely difficult to write. Like, that episode would be really difficult to just legitimately sit down and write, because you just have to keep track of so many variations on characters.
I think it'd be really funny, because, like, the characters are gonna... Because you don't really know which one you're at, because all the ghosts look the same, so you don't know if you saw the one that added fake memories, or got rid of the last 10 minutes, or the one that restored your memories, so you have no idea if the memories are real or fake, or what's going on at all.
Exactly.
It'd be kind of funny.
It would be really funny. We'd have to have one character who didn't get a full restore and just leaves with 10 extra minutes of memories that never happened.
I think they all would have a variation of that, right? We'd have only one person who has their actual memories, one person that's missing 10 minutes, one person that has 10 minutes of false memories. Yeah. And we'll get to the purpose of that in a minute.
Okay.
So, it ends with them escaping the library. But Rickard, who's sort of the boss at this point, sort of like the sub-boss, he sees LaRoe and the ghost that makes you forget, the person at the very end. And so he forgets LaRoe. And they end up leaving without him, and Nob helps make sure that LaRoe can stay, separated from the group and can leave without being seen by Rickard, so LaRoe can escape this, this group.
Yeah.
So Rickard has completely forgot LaRoe exists, and seemingly at this point, at the end of this episode, you're going to think that Nob knows LaRoe has escaped, and so does Biff, and what is his name? Nob, Biff, and Rank. There we go. Rank.
I was going to say Rank.
The only one we know for sure is that Nob knows.
Yeah.
And Hato. I forgot about Hato. Yeah. So, yeah. All right.
Hato knows?
The next episode. So, yeah, everyone, all the, the main people. So, Hato, Rank, Nob, and Biff. You think that they know. Nob is the only one you know for sure knows. Because Nob sees him at the end and doesn't see a ghost. And Nob helps make sure LaRoe can escape. But we don't know about the others because, what if they lost 10 minutes or they have 10 minutes of false memories? And we'll get into that in a second. So they go into a cave system. This is the next episode. They go into a cave system full of eyeless monsters who move around only on sound. So they're in this cave with these eyeless monsters that are fucking kill you if you make a sound. And they end up stealing an egg, but on the way out, Rickard is killed. And the way this episode ends is they give the egg to Viro. And are sent out again without a leader. Apparently, Rickard wasn't even in charge the whole time. Everyone just sort of assumed he was in charge because he'd been there for a long time and he was loud. And Viro's like, no, there's no leader. You're just supposed to go out and get me shit and come back. I don't give a shit what you guys do. Just do your job or I'll kill you. And Viro asks about the elf.
Okay.
Yeah. Viro asks about the elf, meaning LaRoe, because he's like, where's the elf? Rickard didn't mention him in his last report. And they all say that they don't know who he's talking about. One of them says they don't know who he's talking about. The other two say he's dead. And the other three say he's dead. And he probes he starts probing their minds so he can find out. And he finds that Rank had no idea, has no idea who LaRoe is. He's so out of it that he didn't even notice there was a guy named LaRoe. It wasn't even anything related to his memory and the ghost thing. because we'll see in the ghost episode that he never actually sees a ghost. And he's constantly complaining about how, like, everyone else says they saw the ghost. And he's like, what ghost? I've never seen a ghost. And so he never sees a ghost the whole time. And he's just so oblivious that he never actually knows that there's a guy named Leroux that is an elf. So he probes his mind, nothing there. He probes Biff's mind. Biff has 10 minutes of false memories. And in those 10 minutes, Leroux dies. In those false memories. He probes Hato's mind. Hato has also forgotten Leroux exists because Hato had looked at the ghost that makes you forget someone and looked at Leroux.
Yeah, because Hato's always on the guy's coattails. Like, he's following Burkhardt around constantly, so he would be looking at the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the last one is Knob. Knob actually knows that Leroux is alive. And this is when Hato jumps in, sort of realizing that there's something, despite the fact that he doesn't remember Leroux, or she doesn't remember Leroux, can sort of sense with Knob that there's something off. Like, Knob doesn't want to be scanned for some reason. And so Hato jumps in and is like, well, I mean, you already scanned 3 of us, none of us know. There's no point in questioning us. And Viro's just like, I guess, whatever, you're right, to an extent. Like, he's too annoyed with the whole situation, doesn't even care anymore. So lets them go. And this is the beginning of this sort of the adventures of just Rank, Knob, Biff, and Hato, who are like the central crew. And we'll have people rotating in and out. I don't have any of their names or character descriptions or anything right now.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the idea. Is like, this is like this beginning of like the central show. Those 3 episodes are sort of like the build up to, this is the heart of the show.
And then you have the main crew, and they're developing relationships with each other and friendships and sort of thing. And then you'll have random characters come in. Probably all played by guest stars. Like, we get Conan O'Brien in one. We get, I don't know, Axl Rose as another. Like, we get a whole bunch of crazy guest stars, and that could be fun.
Lots of people that come in, they die after 1 episode. People that'll last 3 episodes and die, or 4 episodes, or, if there's a fan favorite, maybe they can stick around for a while.
Whichever ones sell the best plushies get to stick around forever.
Yeah. It's all about the merchandise, really.
Oh yeah.
The way I see it, the way the show ends, is the last episode they're going to have to go to this really cool, massive, evil castle, and they end up stealing so much stuff and, going through it. It's like this crazy, fight, and there's lots of interesting, ghosts and boss fight sort of things, like things that they have to take on to get through. And when they finish, they're going to leave with all this, the mother lode of magical energy that they can pay back Viro.
Yeah.
And when they get back to Viro, they pay him back. They're like, oh, we're finally done. This is great. And Viro's like, no. You've just paid off the debt of all your dead comrades. You only just started paying off your debt.
Oh, shit.
So the way it is that they didn't realize this. You get the debt of everyone that dies, because they don't have to pay in their next life after that. It gets tacked on to the people that are still alive, because he's like, well, I still need to be paid. So congratulations, you've paid off the debt of everyone who's ever not paid off their debt. It is just, you've started at a balance of 0 now, but, you still have to pay back your dets.
Yeah. And
so the way they've done something huge that helps out, not only them, but, the future of people coming through.
Yeah.
But also, it just really sucks for them.
Oh, that's the worst.
Because they're not free.
Yeah, they're not free. They gotta be like, alright, where's the next castle? We gotta go with a dragon and some shit.
But that is the show. That is Malicious Salvage.
I like it.
My fantasy,
I enjoy it.
Pick them through the show. It's great.
I haven't thought of another title, but I feel like the title should be a bit funnier. Because it's a funny show. It's comedic, and I think Malicious Salvage is a little just kind of serious.
Okay.
So let's brainstorm.
I hate that you jumped in without an idea. That makes me, because now I've got this awkward situation where we have to come up with a title now.
We're good at brainstorming.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to. No, we're not. You know how many brainstorms I've had to cut out because we just sort of shoot words out for like 10 minutes, and nothing seems to stick. There's tons of pauses and
what if it was indentured salvage? No. Well, I think indentured could work. Indentured as a first word. Second word, I don't know if it should be salvage or it should be like Indentured Adventurers.
Indentured Adventures?
Right? Yeah.
Indentured. I like Indentured Adventures.
Yeah.
Indentured Adventures is the new title. Fuck malicious, salvage, Indentured Adventures. That's a great title. Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome. See, I said we'd be good at brainstorms, and we are good at brainstorms.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles Long, and with me, as always, has been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat. And remember, we will be here with a brand new televisual series for you to all imagine next week. Probably next week. Should do next week. Yeah.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.